Hello and welcome to Economic Forum, a program where we discuss various issues affecting our economy in Zimbabwe. These can be issues to do with mining, with agriculture, with tourism, with people management, and many other areas that we discuss. But what we do is to look at how they impact on our economy. My name is John Masugu. Life is digital, as we always say, because nowadays we spend most of our time on the digital platforms, be it on our mobile phones or on our computers. You can get into a whole household and find people on the digital space. But what will they be doing? Will they be doing business? Will they be making money? And this is what we're going to be discussing today with our expert, Edith, who is a digital media expert. Welcome to Economic Forum, Edith.
Thank you, John.
Yes.
Good to be here.
Yeah. Can you make lots of money out of the digital space?
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
And all these people that I've just mentioned, will they be making money?
No, unfortunately, not everyone is making money online. Because most of us do not know how to make money there, and also because most of us are more consumed with other things like social media, which does not make money, but makes money for other people who are feeding on our attention.
I think that's very important. Other people make money out of our attention on the digital space. Explain that.
So a lot of the digital media platforms, they thrive on your likes, your views, your comments, how you're posting, how long you stay on that platform. The longer you stay, the more they make. The adverts that are targeted at us, how we respond to them, and so forth. That is how other people are making money from our attention. The more time that you are scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, or going from video to video, it is churning money for someone else.
Yes. Well, we shall be delving deeper into some of those issues. But one of the things that you are concentrating on is digital well-being as well as digital parenting. We would like you to unpack those, what they are and how they help us prepare for the world of business.
When I started my work, I was working with young people, children ages.
Well, having started as a lawyer?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes, so my background is in law and then broadcasting regulation. And I have worked with corporates as well in the legal industry. But my heart was for children. As a mother, I was seeing how my children were using their devices when they were doing computer lessons at school, the things that they would tell me and the opportunities that I saw there. But I was also worried about the threats. And as I was doing more and more work with the young children, I realized that there was a gap. The educators didn't know how to handle this new 21st century student. We started working with educators and realized again that you do all this work at school, but when they go home, it gets undone. So parents came in, and this is how we established the Cyber Smart Parenting programs, where we just help parents to navigate this. It's quite overwhelming when you have to deal with your issues of bread and butter issues, and then with the other aspects of parenting, that your child has school fees and all that. And then there's this digital aspect, which takes a lot from parents. This is how we then stepped in the gap to bridge the divide between the parents, our generation as parents, and the generation of our children. And then as well to just show parents the productive side and how you can actually master these digital platforms for better uses.
Yes. Have you actually followed up on those you have taught in the digital well-being as well as digital parenting, and actually seen that they have that potential in doing well in business and economic development?
Absolutely. From the young people that we work with, some of them have become content creators. They have YouTube channels. Some of them are creating ebooks. Some of them are doing little videos to teach other children skills, and they are monetizing that very well.
Let's go to content creation. the content that you encourage them to create when you go on these outreach programs? Because what I've noticed from a distance is that people like that kind of content that is controversial more than the educative type of content. Now, how do you convince the children and the parents to concentrate on the more educational content?
We look at what interests they have. As young people, the amazing thing when you get to talk to them, they've got various things that they are into. So a child might be into gaming and they love gaming so much that they become almost addicted to it. What we then encourage them to do is to use that knowledge of gaming, show other children how you can use gaming for learning, for instance, how you can use it for entertainment, to connect with other people, and we guide them accordingly. In that way, they are now using what they already have, but in a more productive way.
As we're doing all this, teaching about digital well-being as well as digital parenting, how far are you reaching the broader society of Zimbabwe, that is both the urban areas as well as the rural areas?
Sadly, we have not been able to go very far in Zimbabwe. We've gone as far as Masvingo and Lowe and Gweru, as well as Harare. But the ultimate vision, of course, is to reach every corner of the country. And especially in the rural areas, we are happy to see that the government and other organizations like the regulatory authorities are giving access in terms of connectivity and hardware and software to the marginalized communities. And where we would want to stand in the gap is to also then teach these useful ways of using those gadgets. The other thing that we have been doing, working with corporates, well-wishers, is to go into the urban areas where there are those children who cannot even access school fees. They can't access the basic education. Some well-wishers have donated laptops, desktops, and internet connectivity as well. Then we go in and we teach digital media use skills.
That's Edith Utete, who is a digital media expert. Today we are discussing about all things digital, digital smart learning, as well as monetizing the digital space and other issues, so that when we go onto the internet, we are actually doing that ethically and productively. So join us in the second segment of Economic Forum. We are now in the second segment of Economic Forum, where today we are talking about all things digital with Edith Utete here, who is a lawyer as well as a digital media expert. I think we are concentrating mainly on that second aspect, where you are educating us about how we can use the digital space much more profitably and ethically, and also look at how people can monetize some of their products that they have, which are being monetized by others. So what strategies can be employed in order to succeed in all this?
There are many platforms online. So the first thing that we need to do is to understand where our target market is. Where do we find the people that we want to sell to? A lot of the issues that people have is that they are trying to be on all platforms at all times, and that can become quite overwhelming. You find you are no longer consistent, it's no longer effective, and you get discouraged because you're not finding the results that you would want. So the first thing is to pick platforms where you get the best results, and that comes through exploring the platforms that are there, doing your research. You really have to do your research. For me, I would say for most of the people in our country, we have one platform where we are all on that platform. We communicate there, we exchange ideas, we do all sorts of things, and there are different groups on that platform. That would be the best platform because everyone is already on it. So when you now know where your audience is, you also have to have what we call media literacy, where you now understand that not everything you see is all that glitters is not gold, actually.
Yes.
And so you must be very intentional about how you're using that platform, whichever platform it is. You have to also be very deliberate in making sure that your messaging is correct, it's appropriate for that audience. The language that you use, it has to hit the right spots for the people that you're talking to. While there are other negative aspects of everything that we are using online, you have to focus on those positives that you find. So that's why I was saying sometimes you also have to experiment a little bit to see, does this meet my objectives? Does it get me the results that I would like? If not, then you try something else. But it's also about being consistent and giving it time.
Yes.
And then the others, there's somewhere you're a professional or you are looking to become a professional, where you can also be on that one where you connect with people who are professional from all over the world. You are able to also learn from that platform. There are courses, there's information, there are articles that other people write. There are a lot of thought leaders, so that's one. And then there are other platforms where if you want to just socialize, connect with people, build relationships, learn from each other, but also sell products. There are some like that as well. Some of them are also different in the way that they communicate with your audience. If you've got people who prefer video, there are platforms for people who like videos. If you communicate through pictures, there are platforms for that. If you like audio, just to listen as you're driving or walking, there's something for everyone, basically. Those who like to read, there are platforms for those who prefer to read.
So you can have one message being designed in different forms for different platforms.
Absolutely.
You don't necessarily take the same message across all the platforms because of the, that
Different
approach
formats.
and formats that are used on those platforms.
Absolutely.
Are people aware of that?
Most people are not, because I've actually seen where we just copy and paste on different platforms. But when you're talking to the particular people, I'll give an example, in our social settings, when we are at work, we dress differently, we speak differently. In the boardroom, it's a different approach. When we go to church, it's different. When we're at a pool party or we are at a social gathering, at a braai, it's different. With your children, you communicate differently than you do with your boss. It's the same with these platforms.
Yes.
Time and place for everything. Understand why you are there, who you're talking to, what kind of, the structure of your messaging has to be. Then you use it appropriately for you to see the results that you want to get.
Yes. And when doing all this, we're talking about what we call digital assets and brands. Yes. Which ones are they?
When we talk about digital assets, we're basically talking about everything that has value that you put online. What a lot of people don't realize is that with everything that you're putting on your digital footprint, it has value, which then makes it a digital asset. So if you've got your videos, your audios, your photographs, your written content, anything that you place, whether you create a song, that is a digital asset.
Edith, we'll finish off this segment by talking about how one can create their own brand and also protect it.
When you're going online, the things that you talk about, whatever format you're going to use, you're already creating a brand. So it is important for you to have a clear messaging of who you want to be perceived as. When you're online, it's all about perceptions at the end of the day.
There's so many such experts. Maybe yours is a digital media expert with some infusion of the legal aspects, since you're also a lawyer.
Absolutely. So I look at everything about myself that forms the person that I am, and that is the brand that I will create online. And it is the same even when you're selling goods and services. People now want to know the person behind those goods and services, in as much as they want to know the brand that you're selling.
And you have to protect it. How do you protect your brand?
You have to be very careful about the platforms that you post on. You also have to understand the terms and conditions of those platforms that you're using. How are they going to use the content that you're creating, and how are they going to distribute it.
That's Edith Utete, who is a digital media expert and also a lawyer, who is discussing with us about how we can use the digital space for business, how also we can use it for digital parenting, so that our children grow up knowing how to use the digital space for economic benefits in future. So join us in the third and final segment of Economic Forum. We are now in the third and final segment of Economic Forum, where today we are discussing digital parenting as well as digital well-being, how we can use the digital space to monetize and do business. We look at how we can build our own brands, protect them, and also have a good reputation. And to help us do that, we have an expert in that area who is a digital media expert as well as a lawyer. That's Edith Utete. We talked about building your own brand and protecting it. At times you become so aggressive in protecting your own brand to the extent that you break the rules. Talk about ethics in this business.
When you are online, you are going to be meeting people with different backgrounds, different ways of doing business and conducting business. So you have to have your own values, integrity, ethics, and so forth. As you are navigating digital spaces, you find that there are terms and conditions that apply on the platforms, but there are also general rules of being ethical. You know, when you're selling unfair competition, you know, things like that, you have to be very using other people's content without giving them credit. All those things apply. Protecting your own intellectual property, but also that of other people. And then there are issues of data protection, third-party data especially. You've got people who are sharing their information with you. How are you going to be taking care of that information? How are you going to be packaging your business in such a way that not only are you protecting yourself, but protecting your suppliers, your customers, and everyone who has contact with you. So,
from your experience, Edith, do people read all those instructions,
No.
all those dots and commas about, what is required, the rules and regulations on the internet?
unfortunately, we do not. Many of us do not, because there's just too much to read. And at the end of the day, most of us just want to get on with what we want to do there. We don't want to be going into a legal course learning about the pros and cons of using the platform. But at the end of the day, it is actually very essential to do so, because this is how we end up giving more information than we should. This is how we also end up having our own assets being abused by different people in various ways.
Yes. Let's talk about consumer protection on the internet. Is there such a thing, and how do you go about it?
There is, to some extent, but on a larger extent, because the internet is largely unregulated. And when you talk about things like deep fakes or the dark web,
Or maybe you can briefly describe them. Deepfake?
When you talk about deep fakes, for example, someone can take your picture and put it on someone else's body, and it can appear as if you are saying something or doing something, but it is not you. This is how advanced the technology has become. It can be so convincing. You were talking about fake news earlier. It can actually be a fake image of you and a fake video representing you. That's a deep fake. When you talk about the dark web, so you've got your web as we know it, as we all generally know it, but there are deeper levels where really sinister activities happen there. Another way that people can protect themselves, going back to the issue of terms and conditions, understand where your data is going, how it is being processed. Fortunately, now we've got laws in place that protect our personal data, like the Cyber and Data Protection Act that was recently promulgated. Those kind of laws will assist us in a certain extent. But because the internet is really global, and it has no borders. There are areas where we are going to be intersecting with other people and doing other things that are not protected by our local laws. The important thing is to really understand where you stand as a consumer, what are your rights and what are your responsibilities. And while you have those rights, you also have a duty to be responsible towards other people as well.
Now, for all these children that you are teaching digital well-being, how then does that translate into a positive atmosphere in future? They get to the world of work and they're meeting people from different environments, but you want them to be comfortable. How is that possible?
We want them to be future fit. You know, the world of work is changing immensely. You've got your artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, you've got your all these emerging technologies where there are likely to be more distractions, and also there's a possibility that different skills are going to be transformed. So what we are trying to achieve through the work is that we want these children to become, firstly, producers of something really useful, to be innovators, for them to be able to get into the workplace and to be productive, not that someone is on multiple screens, because that is counterproductive. There is no such thing as multitasking when it comes to digital media. You are going to be distracted, and then because they've also got a shorter and shorter attention span, we're trying to help them to focus on their work, on whatever task they have at hand. We're trying to help them also to have a good relationship with technology, where they are using that technology for good and productive uses, and also taking time to disconnect completely and engage in other activities which are holistically beneficial to them.
You did mention that the internet is largely unregulated.
Yes.
And I think we can end on that note, that we are teaching all these things and people are spending most of their lives on the internet, and life is digital, as we said. But what is the future, especially looking at the future of business in such an unregulated environment?
Well, we hope that at some point there'll be some kind of regulation. There are so many benefits from the emerging technologies that I referred to, and what we would like to see, especially for future generations of the workforce contributing to the economy, would like them to make the most of what the internet has to offer, even though it is unregulated largely, and then also for them to come up with ways and solutions to regulate the areas that need to be regulated.
Well, that's Edith Utete, who was our guest today, and we're talking about digital well-being and how we can groom our youngsters in order for them to understand the internet for business, so that it's not for social interaction only, but they can also do good business there. And what remains is to thank you for coming to Economic Forum. And if viewers would like to get in touch with us, you can do so on the numbers that are showing on the screen. If you like to engage with us on different topics, including today's topic, you can do so on the social media platforms that are showing on your screen. If you miss or you've missed some of the episodes of Economic Forum, you can actually watch them on our YouTube channel, which is Economic Forum Zimbabwe. So on behalf of our guest, Edith Utete, as well as the production crew, this is John Masugu wishing you happy viewing.